the original pilot didn't have a lot of shtick, I guess, like actual jokes and like one-liners.
Yep.
Is that a thing you guys are trying to move away from? Because the original Tick and the Patrick Warburton Tick really enjoyed their quick, witty one-liners. You know, like you punch a guy and whatever happened. But it's not really in the new Tick.
It will. I feel like it is in small. Like if you, it comes with the Tick. So as he comes, you know, that he really affects the telling of story. If you see, like, his fight in the pilot is a cartoon fight. The next time he has a fight with Arthur next to him, you're going to have a bit of a different POV on that fight, and it's going to be a different sort of engagement. Anyway, the Tick is going to infect the whole universe with this kind of stuff. So we will increase, I think, the number of that sense of fun with language and quips and jokes and stuff like it. But the universe doesn't joke unnaturally.
Yes.
It's not a joke engine universe.
Right, that's Ben's language. I mean, I'm a fan of his because of how he writes. There's nobody else that writes like Ben Edlund, and it's just really funny. The Tick in the pilot episode is in the show less than 7 minutes. And I think Ben's decision, and I think it was a good one, was he weighted the show more on having you understand Arthur and Arthur's dilemma as a way into the pilot. And so that took time. And that was not necessarily the funny part of the show. It had a moment when the Tick and Arthur meet, and there's a fight in the middle, that's great. But it's not until you get to the end, you know, till the scene in Arthur's apartment, they really get to say, okay, this is the rhythm and feel of the Tick. And we will have a lot of that throughout the series. So it's
basically 2/3 more per episode,
right?
of that, you know, and that will feel more, I think, because we're doing, and this was a challenge. We're doing the first 20 minutes of or 30 minutes of a movie. We're not doing one of this week and then next week this will happen again. Don't worry. So it's a different thing.
What was it like reviving something that was really a cult? Had such a cult status, and what was it like kind of bringing that back? And
cults are scary. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yeah.
So
we didn't bring back Scientology.
No.
Did we? No.
Been around all this time. But to present something to that group of people who were really, for whom this meant something. You know what I mean? Like, I have respect for those things that mean something to me, and I know what it feels like when they get all urinated on. And I'm like, oh, man. That is something I was desperate to not do. And so that was very risky and scary. But it seems to have worked out. Like, I think no matter what you look at it, you can at least feel that the people behind it are earnest in their attempt to do something. It's not just because we had the rights to the Tick. Quick, pull the Tick switch again.
I mean, for me, it's exciting. I mean, this is the Tick creator, but everywhere I'd go over the past couple of years, having been involved with the other live-action show, somebody would come up to me, having looked on Google or saw credits, and they'd say, "Tick has to come back. Tick has to come back." I was working in Santa Fe, and one of the gaffers on my crew came up to me, and then he came up to me again, and then he came up to me again, and then he came up to me again, and
then
he kept talking about characters. So many different things. But I realized his knowledge of I almost wanted to hire him as a consultant on the show. I thought, hey, maybe we need this guy in case you've forgotten anything. But it's so great to, I think what we've learned from the stream of the pilot is we've gained a new audience, but there are people, like you mentioned, that just really liked previous versions of it, and I'm glad that we can put it out there in a really terrific way.
So, are you relying more on, or what would you say is you're relying more on the kind of the nostalgia effect, or are you trying to bring it really into the more modern superhero realm, or like a good mix of the two? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that there's any. I think the nostalgia effect is something that is going to happen. It's part of what made it scary to do, but you're also embracing. You don't want to mess it up. You want them to get on the bus with you. But this is a time like no other time relative to superheroes and their sort of influence on culture and their presence in culture. It's like there's no reason to play nostalgia games when, like, making a superhero comedy universe adjacent to all these very, very important universes of superhero action. It's for today. Like that's going to be. It's time for that to happen. Deadpool was the beginning of maybe having fun with it on a certain level, but there has yet to be a real claimant, I think, to a fun superhero universe. We don't need yesterday. We need today.
So I think we're living in a different world. I mean, for me, Iron Man sort of turned that corner of like having, humor and poking fun at things and so on. And for sure, Deadpool takes it to another level. But we are living in a universe where this version of the Tick, an original new version of the Tick, can, I think, thrive.
So then why Amazon? Why does that feel like the right place for the Tick?
They are looking for new forms of entertainment in the format of you watch it on a screen and you have episodes and everything, but they have been very aggressive in terms of not falling prey to pre-existing conventions of genre or of television. We're in a whole new place where there aren't commercial breaks and there aren't necessarily a week between each episode. All these things had incredible. They really influenced the format of the drama and comedy that we're used to. That's no longer there. I had to train for 3 years developing this to not do what I normally would have done in broadcast television, which was my medium. So Amazon turned out to be like an ideal place for me developmentally, but also they really want something interesting, new, sensibility.
They were the place that was completely supportive of Ben's vision of this version, and they're letting us make, basically one long movie a season. Hopefully there'll be more seasons, but it's like really interesting episodes, the way he wants to lay them out, but it's also like watching one long movie, which is terrific. And I think that's a great opportunity. Anytime you have a chance to do that, that's fabulous. You're not writing to commercial breaks necessarily, but I think it's a way for Ben to sort of make this this is very original, and they've backed his vision of the show. So I think that's the biggest why at Amazon. And we're fortunate to have Sony as our studio. We had fans there who wanted to see this version come to life.
Are you trying to stick to Tick's original characters from the comic book, television series, and the other television series, or are you trying to create your own new characters with the new mythos based on what comic books have become in the last 2 decades since Tick existed?
It is a combination of both. I think that the first, as the pilot is, the Terror is a character that's been in the comic book and the cartoon and the live-action previous show, and he's in this one. Superior is a new character. He is actually, in ways, as world-defining as the Terror is for the Tick and Arthur. So that's a kind of a handshake between the old and new that represents kind of where I'm going with all of it. There are a lot of comic book and live action characters that I would definitely be looking at to draw. But there are also dozens of characters that never got into the cartoon, never got into the comic book, never got into the short-lived live action series, and there's a bunch of stuff to process now. So it's really fertile.
And what we're able to do with costumes and VFX and so on now to make this version work is going to be just cool. So different than other